is such an awesome time to be a space sim or a sandbox fan. With Elite Dangerous still being developed, Star Citizen showing some really amazing tech, and Space Engineers just recently getting a massive update, I mean, it used to be years and years between good space sim titles like Freelancer or the next X series. Now it's new awesome news like every other month. The space sim titles that really grab my attention are the ones that are willing to try something new. Star Citizen is focused on building the most detailed universe ever imagined for players to live in. Space Engineers created a space crafting game with a physics engine that we've yet to see another space crafting game ever even try to match or compete with. Elite built a massive universe based on real star data. With the newcomer Dual Universe hitting the scene, having successfully been funded on Kickstarter, what makes it so special? Well, let's find out. My name's Captain Shaq, and welcome to Dual Universe, the complete explanation. DU is one of those titles that surprised the hell out of me during its announcement this past year's E3 at the PC Gamer Show. Novaquark's director, JC Bali, had about 2 minutes on stage to sum up his massive title. I walked out of the show with a ton of questions that I'd later make a video about with another YouTuber, Wasted Space. We mostly talked about how we didn't think that this brand new development studio could possibly pull off a crafting sandbox space MMORPG with a single shared persistent universe. The very next day I was contacted by Mr. Bali, and we met later that day. I was shown a working early demo of the tech behind the title, had most of my questions answered, and my overwhelming skepticism became a healthy dose of skepticism and a whole bunch of excitement. Could they really pull this off? Well, let's quickly talk about who they are. JC Bali is a robotics and artificial intelligence expert who regularly appears on French TV and radio programs and international conferences dealing with artificial intelligence. He founded the Insta Paris Tech Robotics Lab. He holds a degree in computer science and theoretical physics and got his PhD in artificial intelligence and robotics in Paris. He now runs Novaquark. Its goal, produce a space simulation sandbox massive multiplayer online game that combines the mechanics of a single shard universe such as EVE Online with the crafting of Minecraft or Space Engineers. Dual Universe is looking to allow players to build the game's content. Players are set to build everything from small single-seat fighters to giant cities on planets and moons, massive space stations, even battleships and the like, all in first person, or third person. When I talked to Bali, he joked about how players could build anything they wanted if they had the time and resources. He even joked about having a massive player project like a Death Star if people were motivated enough and had the resources to give it a go. Everything around is player-made. But we're not talking about Ark or No Man's Sky style preformed building elements where the wall or the item that you just plop down is already shaped for you. Everything from terrain on the planet to the hull of your ship can be changed, customized, and manipulated. So the player can get in there and adjust everything just the way they want it. It's a system that seems ripe for player creativity. Some items like ship thrusters, weapon systems, reactors, sensors, all have models for them. These items will affect how your entity actually behaves. How much thrust, power, weapon damage, range, etc. All the stats stuff for your ship, or building, or station, or whatever. You'll even be able to program how your ship behaves a bit if you want to get into the code. It's actually a pretty cool concept. There's a few dev vlogs about how all that works if you want to know more. I'll put links in the description. But it's not just the crafting system that has me excited for the title. There's tons of crafting games out there. It's the universe itself. Being procedurally generated means the universe is, well, basically endless in scale. The issue with having an endless universe in most titles that we've seen so far is that it's empty and rather boring. But because DU is an MMO focused on high-level player interaction, the content can kind of generate itself, basically through the big goals that Novaquark has set for itself. The biggest one being a living economy. Players mine the resources, build the items, make blueprints, and sell these items on the market. They can set up contract jobs, they can fight each other for territory, form alliances, fight wars. This is the kind of thing that many of the Space Engineer players from back in the day always really wanted to see, but that title was never really designed for this. Dual Universe is being built from the ground up to be a multiplayer game, so hopefully they can be one of the few MMOs to actually deliver on the almighty emergent gameplay aspect. More impressive to me though is the scale. Now we've seen battleships, massive stations floating above a planet, all built using the voxel building system. Now Novaquark is saying that these ships can have hundreds of players involved, specializing in everything from weapon systems to nav systems to repair duties on these entities. I'd be happy if they could just pull 20 people per ship and have it run properly. It'll be interesting to see what kind of gameplay mechanics come out of such massive player numbers and what kind of content will be doable for solo players. I'm personally betting that the contract system will be a great benefit to those lone wolf types. So how in the world could they possibly pull something of this scale off in a single universe? Especially with player-built objects and ships all flying around in that single universe with no instancing or zones. Well, the developers explain this way better than I could. I recommend you check out the Server Technology Dev Diary. I'll put a link in the description below, you'll probably see a card pop up here. But here's a clip and a word from the man himself from that video.
This is a debug view of the server, showing the players connected to it as small white dots. You can see that the universe is dynamically partitioned into cubic cells, and as the players go closer to each other towards the center, the cells get smaller and smaller to maintain an average maximum number of players per cell and distribute the load. So you can think of each cell as being roughly like a particular machine on the server cluster. Now, let's have a look at how it shows inside the game. Here, we have a client connected to the server, and you can see all the players actually gathering to the center.
So there are quite a few mechanics that set DU apart from, well, everything else that we've seen attempted before. The full voxing crafting system for terrain manipulation and ship, station, building, an in-game realistic economy that flows with player input. Players will be able to set up market exchanges, harvest resources and sell them to other players, start an industrial empire, set up logistic lines, something that I have always really enjoyed in EVE. Even creating banks and player-run companies. Now there's been talk about how the best player design fighters can be mass produced and sold to other players. This is how you're gonna run your own company. We're not quite sure exactly how those mechanics will work out. Kind of a wait and see game, with the original design being owned by the player who created it. So if you built the most awesome cheap fighter that people can buy in mass numbers, this could open up some cool strategies of players building cheap fighter fleets, think the TIE fighter from Star Wars in a Star Destroyer, and sending off your pilots to fight and die for the Shaq Empire. Oh man, I really like this plan actually, that sounds fantastic. There is a ton for what Dual Universe is trying to be, and the videos that we've seen so far are kind of showing they might be able to pull it off. I mean, the scale of this is insane. So what I think I want to do in the next video is discuss the different design philosophies between something like, say, Star Citizen and Dual Universe. They're very different titles. But if you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button for me, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for modding, sci-fi, gaming, space sim goodness, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.